I mean, it's all out in the open. They put poison in our water, poison in our food. I was reading a Washington Post article last night on the nightly news, and I actually kind of flipped out, just in the dark, satirical humor of it. In fact, I'm going to go get it out of the TV studio here during the break and cover it when we come back. I'm sitting there, and I'm reading this Washington Post article. And I think the reason I flipped out on air a little bit last night was because I had never read the article. Usually I've read everything 2 or 3 times, or at least looked at it a few times, before I get on air with it. But in my stack, I tell the guys some of the news I want to cover. They bring up some news. I had said, yeah, put that in the news, but hadn't really looked at it. So I'm reading the article on air. And hidden in plain view, it says, and of course I already knew about this, but it was just the reading it, the way they dryly reported on it. It was a headline about Monsanto mad at farmers because they're not planting enough non-GMO crops. And it was a factoid I'd known for over a decade, but I'd just kind of forgotten it or hadn't consciously taken the meaning myself. And it hit me like a ton of bricks while I was reading the article, how huge it was. And you're like, okay, well, what is it that's so huge? When we come back from break, I'm going to go get the article, and I'll cover that and get into the big Iran terror threat we're being told about, a repeat of 2003 with the Iraq invasion, but they could kick off a new 9/11. So I'm going to come back and cover just what hit me like a ton of bricks on air. And see, that's when I tend to have those electric thoughts and understanding and anger, is when I'm reading something for the first time or seeing it for the first time, and then those connections are made. And that happened on air last night. That's why I started just literally going wild on air. We'll cover it when we get back. All right, we are back live. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll get into the Monsanto news here in just a moment. I want to spend a few minutes with some plugs. I'm going to be speaking in Dallas this Sunday at the Lakewood Theater. They've sold about 60% of the tickets. I'm going to have GMO'S speak for 30 minutes, introduce me. Then I'm going to speak for about an hour and a half and take some questions. So that's about 2.5 hours right there. And then I'm going to premiere about a 35-minute documentary. And I've decided that this evening on the nightly news, I'm going to premiere the first 6 minutes of the documentary. And I haven't even decided the name of this documentary yet. Aaron, as usual, we always end up adding more. And so he's been up here sleepless trying to edit all this together. And I just love surprises. I can never wait till Christmas. You know, I'd always try to sneak and secretly, forensically open the packages to look at them when I was a little kid. So I'm going to premiere tonight on the nightly news the first 6 minutes or so. and I'm just going to say it's comical, and it's the funniest thing we've probably ever done. And I just thought of it the other day, because we already pretty much made the film, and the film's about the greatest threats that actually face humanity. Not all the fake threats that the social engineers dangle in front of us, all of that. So we're going to be premiering that on the nightly news, and then it'll be posted for everybody at prisonplanet.tv, and then Infowars.com will have it tomorrow for everybody, even if you're not a subscriber. And then when the documentary's done, after I've premiered the whole thing in Dallas this weekend, and then next Sunday in Orlando, we'll post the whole thing on prisonplanet.tv for members first that Monday, and then by the Tuesday it'll be on the YouTube channel. While we've still got that, they're trying to shut our YouTube channel down again. Right now, behind the scenes, with letters and stuff. I've been hit with 4 letters in the last week with people trying to shut down our operation, and all sorts of other chicanery going on behind the scenes. And I take it as a real mark that we are doing really, really good. As the attacks intensify, as the craziness basically intensifies, we are certainly starting to have an effect. Now, what happened is, this is one reason I can't focus on the show, and it's nobody's fault. What happened is I tried to make it out of the studio to get down the hall to my broadcast studio. And then I looked up and 3 minutes had gone by because 3, 4 people talked to me, and then my wife called. And I went, wait a minute, I'm supposed to have the Monsanto article. And then I said, it's the Monsanto article, Washington Post, on my desk in the broadcast studio. And that was 4 minutes ago. So obviously, I'm going to have to go to some tape here to be able to cover this for you and then go out and get it. We have it because I was needing it on air. I mean, that's why I was saying I'm waiting to cover it. Great, so we're going to be able to have that up in just a minute. Listen, here's the deal, folks. This is teleprompter free. This is the real deal. This is not entertainment. And this is not about the celebrity of Alex Jones. I hate the celebrity of Alex Jones. I want to hide under a rock. I want to be left alone. I don't like being recognized. I don't like having to run this operation. I don't like all of it. But it is something I have to do to defeat the globalist. And I know you don't want to be public. You don't want to have to talk to your neighbors. You don't want to have to go to city council. But you've got to do it. You've got to get aggressive in the fight for liberty. But I look at all of these people that are so worldly, that are so into how they look and how people perceive them and being trendy. And then the system can just put out what they say is fashionable, what they say is the kosher, cause celeb of the day. And to see people not even being conscious, but being programmed by the television and the culture and all the rest of it. Again, this radio show more and more is controlled rage. I may just have to go back to eating like a pig and not running 8 miles a day because just the New World Order, all the stuff that's going on, the urgency, the frustration, the irons I've got in the fire, I am on the verge of just absolutely getting angry every 5 seconds now. Because I know they're getting ready to stage terror attacks and start big giant wars. And then I'll have to watch the terrorist social engineers that think they're smarter than everybody prance around as our saviors on television. And I just can't handle it, man. These murdering, gun-running, narcotics trafficking criminals who've been caught red-handed 1,000 different times, up one side and down the other, destroying our society. And our country is good, our world is good, but good people are allowing evil to take over because we sit here on our hind ends. And I'm not doing it anymore. Now, I got all this news. I got the big terror threat alert news. I got guests coming up. But here's the report last night that got me to kind of go off into a dark satire rant that people seem to really like. I was noticing on the comments on the websites. They're like, my gosh, this is comic genius. What it is somebody in a comedic rage. I don't know how to just because the reality of this is so ridiculously over the top that I either get super angry or super smart mouth or depressed and sometimes just totally turbo focused. But then I can hardly ever get focused because there's just so much going on. And that's what the globalists want to do. They want to just rush us with all this stuff until we just give into it. I mean, I read this last night, and it just blew me away. It's the Washington Post. Makers of genetically modified seeds say more farmers evading EPA rules. And I'd seen the article but hadn't read it, and I said, Marcos is like, this is really wild. Can I put this in the news tonight? And I said, yeah, put it on the list. We'll cover it. But rarely have I not read an article when I come to it in the news. Usually media people haven't even read the article. They just read off a teleprompter. So I kind of had a teleprompter response to this because I'd never read it. I'd just seen the headline. I was aware of everything in the article separately, but I hadn't read this. So I'm on air, and I start reading the article, and I'm having that first look effect I talk about because I tend to read news a couple times before I'm on air, and then I get angry, and then I get on air, I've already read it, and it's kind of like I don't want to look at that monstrosity again, and I tend to not cover the news because it's old to me. See what I'm saying? But this I read for the first time, and it just flipped me out because it's so hidden in plain view. Like this headline should be, Monsanto wants you to eat the corn, not the bees, or something like that. Makers of genetically modified seeds say more farmers evading EPA rules. Monsanto Co. and other seed makers reported a threefold increase last year in U.S. farmers caught violating rules intended to stop insects from developing resistance to genetically modified corn. Caught violating rules intended to stop insects from developing resistance. So you're like, what are those rules? The rules affect farmers planting seeds modified to produce a toxin derived from Bacillus thuringiensis, which is like a bacteria. I was saying a fungus. There's another fungus variant they've got as well. Or BT, a natural insecticide. Kind of like Nightshade's natural. The Environmental Protection Agency requires those growers to also plant an adjacent area, a so-called refuge of non-BT corn, so that bugs feed on both types of corn and don't become immune to the toxin. Actually, it's so all the bugs don't die, so all the bees eating the pollen don't die. That's actually, we've had the experts on, read their documents, gone over it. So there's some deception there. But here it is in plain view. Oh, you got to have a refuge for the bees to eat something that doesn't make them sick or kill them. Don't eat that pollen, don't eat that corn, or don't eat those other crops. That'll kill the bee. Because it does, it kills the bugs. And they argue with this bacteria, and also some other companies have some fungus variant producing ones that, well, you know, this fungus, or the toxin put off by the bacteria or the fungus with the different types, you know, it's already in there. Yeah, at 500, 1,000, some cases 2,000 plus times stronger. And you've got all these gut disorders and all this Crohn's popping up and irritable bowel. I mean, it's just everywhere. All these health problems exploding. Studies linking it to this, not in humans because they never allow that. And Monsanto and others fight so there won't be human trials. What you've got here in this whole situation is the thousands of studies with guinea pigs, rats, mice. Just type it into a search engine. BT corn caused total sterility in 3 generations of rats or guinea pigs. Or BT corn linked to organ failure. I mean, just read it. Oh, really? You feed it to a rat and you test stuff on rats because that's similar metabolism to a human. They test them on pigs as well, and it's killing them. But let's let the humans eat it and say it's fine. And then Aaron ran in here during the break. That's what distracted me. I'm not mad that he did. He's like, we found it. We found it. You were right. You know, Bill Gates' dad, head of Planned Parenthood. Here he is in a eugenics group. And here he is funding the first, you know, GMO trials that were then bought by Monsanto. And it's a program to reduce fertility. Here's these other documents. And he's like, more proof of it. And I understand. It's like we're in a cop shop going, more proof of their criminal action. And I'm just like being hit from every angle. And I mean, it's just like, how do you stop them? How do you even deal with it? And Bill Gates is prancing around, you know, up there saying he wants to reduce population. He's got some corn he wants you to eat. And he's the biggest owner now in Monsanto. I mean, I've just reached total Twilight Zone level here. And the general public's like, you're bad because you don't like organ failure. A little